Say, kids, what time is it?
It's kind of like watching TV, but, in your car.
104.7 The K, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens, Dark Side of the Stream. This is episode 205. This week
the 205
was Jay's pick. It is a documentary you can watch on Netflix. It's called Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter. Now, before we get into this, Jay kind of prefaced this last week. I think he did a good job saying, at the beginning I was kind of
slow.
What's going on with this?
But boy, it twists.
But then you get a real big punch in the mouth. Now, before we I don't want to just throw all the candy on the table or on the floor or whatever.
It's called spilling your candy in the lobby. Is the
sorry.
proper business term.
Either way, I don't want to do that because there's a lot to unravel here. But it starts off with a teen pregnancy and a girl that gets pregnant at the age of 16, which happens all the time.
A lot.
And
14,
my first question
15.
is, did you ever have any kind of early teenage scares?
No.
You never had any oh my God,
amazingly enough, I did not.
Please.
Not that I'm aware
How
of.
is that? Well,
not that I'm aware of.
That right there is
There,
more living.
have
you ever done a 23andMe?
No, I'm not. I am
that's
not, man.
That's where the phrase "ignorance is bliss" comes into play.
That's a brilliant idea, though, for somebody that I know. Okay, who's trying to find their kid that they give up for adoption. That's a brilliant idea.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean,
you know someone that's actually doing that right now?
There's someone extremely close to me. Yes,
that's doing the exact same thing this lady went through.
Well, I mean,
obviously not her story.
This person has not tried the 23andMe, but that's a great idea. So I'm going to suggest.
Let me
this.
ask you. Well, I'm going to probe here. The person
on the air, you're going to probe the person. Thank you, Mike.
I don't want to know. I don't want to out the person. But at the same time, was this volunteer closed adoption that they did when they were young, or what?
15 years old, 2 young kids, and it was. I think it was. They knew who the family was. They got to choose the process, but it was no contact or nothing.
They all never
and
know.
Now, way down the line, who knows if that agency is even still around? I don't know, but the 23andMe would be a great route for this person.
That's the thing. If you have children and you've just gone through domestic problems, disputes, divorce, maybe you weren't together, custody battles, how much guilt and just stress and just, oh God, it's so awful to go through that. I can't imagine the guilt that you feel as a human being that's going to give up your child, even though that deep down you are doing the right thing
to do. Yeah,
because you as a parent want to give the absolute best possible situation you can.
And if you're a young kid, no money, it's
15 years old, you might as be 21 years old though, because it's not like you have any more difference. The only difference is your parents are going to help take care of you.
And you could be stoking out a family that's not able to have a kid. I think that's where the real bright side of it is.
Also, that's another big deal. But yeah, I just right out of the gate, it's a tough thing, and you feel bad for this woman, but then something, even though it was a closed adoption, happened that changed this entirely and completely changed the story for me.
Incredible.
We'll get to that next. Dark Side of the Stream continues on 104.7. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. It is Dark Side of the Stream, episode 205, Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter. So obviously, we went through the difficult decision that people have to make when they choose adoption. It is difficult. But again, you have to try to look at the positive. The kid might have a better situation.
Yeah.
You will also have another chance to kind of finish out your life and set yourself up for adulthood. Not to say that if you had a kid at 16.
Yeah, my mom had me at 16.
I mean,
my mom was 16. My dad was 18.
My grandparents, they were 15 and 18 when they started having kids. So it's it's not that it's impossible. It's just very difficult. But then, like you said, you're also given the opportunity for people that might not be able to have kids that really want kids, an opportunity to raise a
very special
child.
thing to do.
And that's essentially how this story came to fruition. And it's a teen pregnancy, parents to convince the woman to give up the child for adoption. She does that, closed, don't know the parents, don't know nothing. And then one day she gets a letter in the mail. And I can't imagine how difficult that must have been, because it's not like the letter you get where it's like, hey, my name's Jay Bananas. I'm a DJ in Springfield, Missouri. I'm a front man of a record. I got kids. I'm proud. I'm in my 50s now. I really wanted to reach out to you and just tell you Thanks for getting me
let's
born.
get together.
If you wanted to have a relationship, I'm open to that.
Awesome.
I had great parents. There's no reason. I think if I had been adopted and that was the situation at a certain point of adulthood, I probably would want to reach out to my parents.
I think
and
I would
say,
too.
like, look, if you have any kind of guilt or anything, like don't have any, we can start a relationship. Obviously, I have a very good mom and dad that raised me, that are my mom and dad, but that doesn't mean you and I can't have a relationship.
Yeah, I would think
that's kind of
I would take that route.
I think that's the healthiest way to do it. But again, I wasn't adopted, as far as I know, and my situation is different. I can just speak from what I see. But can you imagine, like, getting this letter, and it's not that, it's you're adopted, or you're the girl that you put up for adoption got murdered and killed.
Yeah,
and we need your blood
they need
to see
your
if
DNA
this is the person.
to find if this is the person. Wow, that'd be it's a left hook, right?
I mean, it's weird because I think even though the story didn't end up the way we wanted it to, and it ended up in a really bad situation, but ultimately, I think what she was able to do to try and give this girl justice may, in her mind, kind of fought that guilt, like the guilt that I'm sure she's going to feel for the rest of her life because of the choice she made and what ended up happening. She's always going to feel guilty for that. There's literally nothing she could do. Nothing. As far as I know, maybe therapy, I don't know, but props
to this mom for going on super sleuth mission.
She basically finds out that, it's not your kid that we found, the remains that we found, but then she's like, well, what happened to her?
Yeah, let's dig in.
That's what they did, and that's exactly what they found out next because of this woman on Into the Fire, and we'll discuss that next on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio, Dark Side of the Stream, episode 205. We're discussing Into the Fire. And so, of course, we just mentioned the woman who had put up her child for adoption gets a letter, 20, 30 years later. The girl that you put up for adoption ended up going missing in the 80s, and we found some remains. We need to test her DNA to actually see if it's her. But up until this point, that's the only way that they could open this case.
Yeah.
You had to have a court order, and the police actually had to go to a court order and get that open so that they could find her, reach out to her, and do it. Wasn't the woman, but she goes, well, then what happened to my daughter?
Yes.
And that's when she took this thing on her own and figured it out.
And my gosh, did she go down rabbit holes and camping outside the dude's house, and something told her where that kid was, man. I don't know what you believe in.
Mother's intuition.
I mean,
mother's instinct.
Something crazy.
She
knew where this kid was.
That's the other part about this documentary that was so hard for me to watch, and that is the system, the fostering and adoption system.
Oh, man.
We told you what the positives of when you get put into a situation and you get into a loving family, but I don't know how many damn times I watched an episode of Unsolved Mysteries or Lost and Found or whatever, where it starts off a kid in the foster system or went into adoptive parents that were just using it to get a check or abuse them. And it's just, it's
not good, dude.
It's gut-wrenching, makes you want. I don't know what I did to you to make me watch this. I thought we made a decision about no kids, and then you back to back.
I just keep laying them on you, dude.
Which kind of broke the rule, in my opinion. And this, Jay's just not paying attention to the rules that we set for Dark Side of the Stream. So what did I do to you?
I'm a rebel.
You're obviously pissed off at me.
I just like
this is your passive-aggressive way to get me back.
When they have I didn't make you watch the hair metal documentary that just came out, all right? I gave you a pass on that one. I gave you a pass on the new hair metal documentary. I will save for the Motley Crue documentary, though, for sure. But yeah, I mean, this had just such a good twist in it that it's like, it's worth a watch. It's worth a watch.
Ultimately, this woman would discover that the couple that adopted her, the man, ended up abusing her and killing her.
And multiple kids.
And buried her supposedly in the backyard?
And no charges. And then she camped outside his house. She would call their house. Like, she put the heat on until finally charges were brought.
And he admitted it. And it was just, it's just so.
And how about the guy's wife? Oblivious. He wouldn't. No, he didn't he did that before, but he wouldn't do it again. Like, dude.
So you have no idea what he did to her.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anyway, there was no good ending to this story. I mean, what? That we got justice, right? But we'll come back with our
I guess
reviews
we got
next while we try to
justice.
figure out how much justice we got. Dark Side of the Stream next on 104.7 The K. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream episode 205. This week we did Into the Fire, a documentary on Netflix about a woman trying to find out what happened to the kid that she put up for adoption. Again, this was
she found out.
Unbelievable story that
pretty wild, man. There's some wild people in this world, dude.
It really is just crazy, but also at the same time, it's just heartbreaking. It's just so heartbreaking on every level. I mean, obviously, this woman tried to do the right thing. She tried to figure out a good choice for this kid that was yet to be born. Try also help her life so she could do what she needed to do. And then because of some rotten characters in a rotten system, it's just, God, it's heartbreaking, bro. It's just the heartbreaking. So I think all in all, it's hard. I don't want to knock the documentary because they're just telling a story.
It had a twist in it. That's what I like.
I mean, the story is ultimately it just started at the beginning, and that's just the way it is. But it's hard.
What are you going to give it?
It's hard. I'm gonna have to give it a 3, just because I personally hurt just watching it.
I'm going to go 4 because of the twist factor, because it had such a good twist. You didn't see it coming. You don't see it coming.
I knew that something was coming, and it's just going to be a bad story, ultimately. But as we always do, we're going to continue right on because Jay wants to keep talking about kids.
No, I thought you had a rule.
I'm going to throw it right back on you, brother. We're going to watch the 2 brothers that Kim Kardashian is currently trying to free out of prison. The Menendez brothers. Let's watch that one on Netflix. And we can talk about if we can find that basketball card they're actually on. You know about that?
No.
Oh, man, that's great.
Okay, this will be for next week. That's a good tease. That was a good tease.
As always, stream us do this live on Facebook Live or YouTube every Thursday at 9 a.m. I play it during my show at that time. Jay plays it during his show at 6 p.m.
And apparently people listen to us from around the world.
That's it. Also, yes,
we are also
a nationally renowned podcast now. We got reached out to by the fine folks at PETA after our recent episode about Chip Crazy. Shout out to PETA and what you do.
They said they are listeners.
They listened, and they were happy that we were calling these people out, which I don't know how you could be a living, breathing human being
and not call
watch
these people
someone
out that
keep
have
this
monkeys.
living, breathing thing with thoughts and feelings in a damn cage and then kill them when they don't pay you. Those guys are trash. It's just not PETA, the people that were owning the champs. Let's make that
PETA's doing a good job.
PETA's doing a good job. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for
wherever you are.
Shout out to you.
I don't know how the hell you found it.
It was a faraway area code,
but
so
they're
it was
listening.
not here.
So why aren't you? Tell your
everybody
friends.
Listens. See around the world.
Dark Side of the Stream. I'm Mike the Intern.
I'm Jay Stevens.
Reminding you,
we watch
movies
documentaries, so you don't have to.
Dark Side of the Stream. I'm 104.7 The Cave.